viewed the Luis Torres case as one amongst numerous recent cases of police territories of Latinos that he sensed were not raised at the appropriate level of political law. As a result, he announced that he was forming a subchapter of the new Black Panther Party that would be named the Brown Panthers. And soon thereafter, I got an odd phone call when I was in California asking me to be the new chairperson of the Brown Panthers in Houston. I said, no thanks. I was trying to be a historian at that time. The all-male Black Panther Party, their display of arms, and their paramilitary attire were symbols of resistance that built upon patriarchal and heteronormative discourses of racial belonging and pride. Yet hundreds of Latinos rallied behind that corporeal and performative modality of blackness, as it opened a discursive space for them to protest against racism like never before in Baytown, all the while reinforcing gender and sexual hierarchies. Following the Panther rally, a more diverse coalition of grassroots activists was formed to sustain the protests that the Panthers helped to launch in their own community. Black, Latino, male, and female activists used the term Rodney King en Español as a slogan to call attention to their cause. By linking the King and Torres cases, or the Luis Torres cases, these activists were both critiquing and building upon the black-white binary. They were calling attention to the ways in which anti-Latino racism tends to be overlooked due to this binaristic condition, while also attaching their cause to the black side of this binary via a reference to King in order to incorporate themselves into a larger and more recognizable community of victims and activists. Meanwhile, in 2002, the Houston-based rap duo Lil G and Rashid released their debut album titled Wet Black. Lil G, the son of Honduran immigrants, and Rashid, an African-American, chose the title of their album by combining the words black and wetback, a synonym for the so-called illegal aliens of our nation. Rather than viewing the plights of Latinos as subsumable through blackness, the term wet black symbolizes a hybrid subjectivity formed out of the experiences of black and Latino lives which have been pushed together by their shared histories of injustice. Nevertheless, blackness still functions here as the discursive foundation of that ethnic compound, due to the medium from which it derives. Despite the diverse origins of hip-hop culture, I would argue rap music can be identified as fitting better within the genealogy of black music in the United States. The album cover of the Wet Black album symbolizes this mutation. It depicts Lil G and Rashid standing back-to-back on a platform, while surrounded by masses of suffering blacks and Latinos in an open field. The image presents a rather stark contrast to, I think, the kind of showdown or conflict imagery that we often see in popular media culture. It appears as if each rapper has summoned this crowd to announce a new path to their salvation. Their position and shirtless pose suggests that they are acting as warrior chiefs, recently emancipated from bondage, whose coalitions with one another represents the last hopes for a population facing systemic obliteration. Their baggy jeans, hairdos, and tattooed bodies also tell us that they are quintessential ghetto soldiers who have been popularized by gangster rap culture. The Wetback album art also tells us that Lil G and Rashid are not only brothers in arms, but that their arms are bound together. Lil G's left wrist is bound to Rashid's by handcuffs, to suggest that the two men are fugitives of the Texas penal system, and that they are on the run from state agents, while in search of their due freedom. This link seems to symbolize the very necropolitical stages that blacks and Latinos have endured throughout their histories in places like Houston. We trace that back towards the prominence of the Ku Klux Klan in many of our communities, up until the legacy of police brutality that really began to cement itself in the post-war era. In Lil G and Rashid's visual allegory, the handcuffs they have donned also suggest that the two men have no choice but to work together. Their bound arms must function as one, making them a formidable two-headed and three-armed foe. That is to say, only if they choose to work as a coalition. Choosing otherwise will only make them easier to oppress. Finally, the cover of the album suggests that the two groups have trodden different historical paths. Rashid holds a thick steel chain that he also wears around his neck to represent the history and impact of chattel slavery in the Gulf South and beyond. Lil G holds a large plastic bag that is dripping wet to signify the more recent plight of undocumented immigrants, bringing disastrous conditions wrought by neoliberalism in Latin America, the search for new lives in large cities of the global north, like Houston. Lil G's prop thus symbolizes the despair of many Latinos who arrive in the U.S. literally naked after they have navigated the waters of the Rio Grande, with their clothes and personal belongings floating inside of in plastic bags. As they flee rampant poverty and political corruption, they arrive in places like Houston's neighborhoods, only to find another type of despair, one which their African-American neighbors are all too familiar with. The term mayatero has been used by Latinos in other parts of the U.S. to criticize people like Roji for their allegiance to figures like Rashid. Mayatero is a derivative of the term mayate, which is what I would say is a Spanish language equivalent of the term nigger. The term literally translates as one who performs niggerness in this